Hey, how's the class of 2025 doing? I just want to give you a heartfelt congratulations on what you've accomplished. And you've heard it from the other speakers, but I know it was hard. And I respect you so much for what you've accomplished, especially when you put your hand on your heart, and so many of you have had your hand on your heart. You should be exceedingly proud to be here today. And I'm proud also. And I want to say thank you to Champlain College, to President Hernandez, to Sarah Byers from the chairman of the chairperson of the trustees. I am so honored. And you know, I was trying to put my finger on it over the last 2 weeks of why I had all these emotions about getting an honorary degree from Champlain. And I've been on the board of trustees for 3.5 years. I thought, well, maybe that's it. But it isn't. And then it occurred to me like an epiphany. The reason I anticipated this being so special is I've basically been close to Champlain my whole life. When I was 16 years old, my older sister, Mary Jo, graduated from Champlain. My wife, over there in the corner, we've been married almost 40 years, and she's a proud Champlain College graduate. Both her parents are Champlain College graduates. An uncle, nephew, friends. My best friend from high school, Brad, went to Champlain when I went to the university next door. So we crossed over all the time, and I spent a lot of time at the Champlain campus with his friends, and he spent a lot of time at the university with my friends. And I think my college experience was better because I had basically a foot in 2 different schools. The thing that struck me even back then was the students at Champlain knew when they graduated, they were going to have a job. It was just the way it always was. You know, Champlain is different by design, and this is for some of the families who might not know this, but the motto of Champlain is ready for work, ready for life, ready to make a difference. And it's as true today as it was decades ago. Earlier when I said I know how hard you worked to get here, I know because I know from experience. When I was middle-aged with a young family, I enrolled in an online graduate degree program myself. It wasn't at Champlain, it was at another institution in Vermont. And it was hard, much harder than I anticipated. And I'll be honest with you, a couple times during the program, I didn't know if I was going to make it. I don't know if any of you confronted with this reality, but it was hard. What I didn't know and what you don't know is what today will lead to. You have no idea what's coming in your future, what good things are on the horizon. But I make a prediction. Your future is going to be bigger and better than you can imagine. I'm serious. I'm not exaggerating. You don't know what's coming, but good things will come from today that you can't anticipate. I'm going to give you an example from myself. I was studying international relations, concentrating on a country in Southeast Europe called Yugoslavia. I started my academic studies at 356 BC in a place called Pella, where Philip II of Macedon and his wife Olympus had a baby son born that year. That son was tutored by none other than Aristotle, and we all know him. I'm sure you figured this out. It's Alexander the Great. So I studied from Alexander's time for the next 2,300 years during my graduate degree program until present day, which was 1998. All the history and the wars and the in that region. Well, 6 months before graduation, in that region of the world, a crisis broke out, a sectarian violence that the international community had to come in. It was called the Kosovo crisis. So, like Alex was describing his father's thesis, I had to write a final document. It was like a thesis, 123 pages long, and I put in there a chapter on this region. Kosovo. I finished my degree, I'll go back to work as a commercial airline pilot, and a curious thing's happened. The phone started to ring. Can you come to Washington, D.C.? We want to ask you about Kosovo. Can you come to Germany? Someone read your paper, and we want a briefing on Kosovo. And then incredibly, now this is months after graduating online like you are today, months later, just months. I find myself at the U.S. Embassy in Skopje, Macedonia, in the ambassador's office with a famous U.S. diplomat. He's famous today. His name is Ambassador Chris Hill. And incredibly, he asked me my opinion about Kosovo. I had no idea that was going to be coming, and you don't know what's coming either, but there are good things coming your way because of today. One more quick vignette. Years after the Kosovo crisis, I was at the Pentagon where another crisis was developing called Ebola. Now, for the young people in the room, they probably don't remember Ebola, but our generation probably does, because there's been several infectious disease outbreaks or pandemics in my lifetime. SARS, MERS, Ebola, COVID-19. So I was to brief the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Secretary of Defense about Ebola, and I did. And at the end of the briefing, the general in charge, a guy named Martin Dempsey, said, "Mike, this afternoon President Obama is coming, and I want you to tell him exactly what you just told us." The president shows up with his national security advisor, Suzanne Rice, and a couple other VIPs. I give him the briefing. The president asks me some really tough questions, and then we're done. And a couple hours later, my wife, the Champlain graduate over there, we're in a Suburban. We're headed for Andrews Air Force Base, being driven by two of my staffers. And I got to be honest with you, I was feeling pretty good. You know, I was actually a little cocky. And the people in the vehicle kind of could tell that I was kind of high on myself. I figured, hey, I just briefed the leader of the free world about a real crisis, you know, and right about that time, my phone rang. And I answered on speaker, and it was our oldest daughter, Chelsea. And at the time, she was working infectious disease as an epidemiologist at the state of Vermont, and she'd been working Ebola for 2 straight months. So she said, "Where are you?" I said, "We're in Washington, D.C. You're not going to believe that. I just briefed the president about Ebola." And there's like this pause on the speakerphone, and then she says, "Ebola? What possible reason would you be briefing him on Ebola?" And it was amazing. You with kids will know this. It's amazing how your kids can take the pin to your balloon and I think the moral to me is never take yourself too seriously and always be able to laugh at yourself. Okay, I'm done. I got just one more thought. I'm gonna say a number, and I want to know if anybody knows what the number is. You can raise your hand. You can blurt it out. 27,805. Anybody? 27,805. According to the 2020 U.S. Census, the average life expectancy of an American is 76.15 years, or 27,805 days. And here's my challenge to everyone in the room, not just the graduates. What are you doing with your days? And I would tell you to treat those days as important as they are. Now today, check, you just had a great day. You can't get any better than today. But I would recommend humbly to consider your remaining days to do it the Champlain way. And this is Mike Dubie talking. This isn't Champlain College, but this is what I think about Champlain way as. Try to be kind. Try to be thoughtful. Try to be respectful of other people's ideas, even if you disagree with them. Try to be more human in our digital world. I ask you to embrace Champlain's philosophy of lifetime learning. Your life and the people around you will be better if you try to learn something every day. In fact, we'd like some of you to come back and get another degree with us. With that, I want to say congratulations. I have the greatest respect for you. I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. And don't forget what I said earlier. Your life is going to be bigger and better than you can imagine. Thank you.